Hello, and good morning. I was thinking about the notion of tolerance. In particular, the notion of tolerance in word versus tolerance in deed or action. It feels like, I speak in generalities, but it feels like these days there's some of the more entitled individuals of our societies that seem like they would want some sort of hug box for themselves. Like it's not enough for them that people won't take violent action against them for their beliefs or their whatever the heck they're doing or what they are, who they are. It's not enough that people not take violent action. They insist that people not express their disapprobation for whatever the crap these people are into, their whole shtick, whatever it is. And it feels like that is not a great idea, either for the individuals involved or society writ large. In my mind, the problem is that tolerance is not an infinite resource, right? It's not this. It's more of, in my mind, like a buffer zone, right? It's the grace we give each other so that we can coexist in society with people who we don't necessarily agree with, but people who we don't think are necessarily evil, if that makes sense. But the problem is that if you are the type of individual who insists on some sort of hug box for yourself, not only that people not take violent action against you, but that people not express any sort of disagreement at all with whatever the crap is going on, it feels like the more foolhardy individuals of any given group might get the idea that they can push and keep pushing and that nothing bad will ever happen because people are okay with it somehow rather than people just tolerating what they're doing. And at some point, the ride comes to an end, right? At some point, like something has to give. Anyways, that's what I reckon. All right, moving on, we have some stuff to watch here. Perfect. All right, video by Harmful Opinions, addressing the allegations. We're kind of jumping into the middle of something here. Long story short, I believe he's in some, or is or was in some sort of issue thingy with a VTuber named Skitty Bitty, who I believe is trans or something, and was acting ignobly to some extent. Kind of like I think the main thing that they were doing was they were kind of on their channel. I believe they were kind of Chad yesing people coming after them because they're gay or trans or whatever the crap, and then in private they were telling people on their Discord to go and attack them. Now, high school drama. Like I said, I don't know if it's high school drama. We'll see. But I thought it'd be interesting to look at this one. So, let's get into this.
The video is called A Lesson in Manufacturing Outrage Online. It's by Edgier Than Thou, and the thumbnail says, Spotting a Liar. If I skip anything...
Oh, yeah. Okay, I can't tell. Like, what is this thing in the background? Is it supposed to be like the pendulum to a clock or something? I don't know.
I'll tell you what I skipped and you can go look yourself. I'll link it below. Let's see what
I'm assuming this is some sort of reference to something, but,
our guy has to say.
I take it back. I don't know.
Hey, folks, in recent years, I've become increasingly disillusioned.
Evil! Evil! Look at the lighting. I believe that is what the kids are dubbing bisexual lighting. No, I don't know where that exactly originated, but it does feel like that there were... Maybe it's just that there was a certain type of person who would use this type of lighting. I don't know if it's like the neon or whatever the crap type of thing they got going on. I don't know. To be fair, it might be advantageous or something like that. I'm not for sure if it would help like cover blemishes or whatever the crap, or alter one's kind of facial features a little bit in a way that's advantageous for film. I don't know. For the record, there's probably a reason people use it.
Internet culture.
Disillusioned with internet culture. What sort of esteem did you ever hold it in? Thank you to the people.
See, like, I don't know. I've heard multiple kind of opinions on the notion of like the good that is done by people like drama tubers getting involved in scenarios. And I'm not saying it's never useful, but I also think there's a reason why the court system exists, and I think it exists primarily so that, like, due process, I tend to think exists, like, to get all of the information under one roof so you can cross-reference everything. And I feel like online, that process is rarely carried out in such a rigorous fashion as it is in the real world. So I'm not saying like online discourse, especially as an alternative, like a last resort for people who can't get any sort of legal whatever the crap taken care of. I'm not saying it's never good to go public. I just feel like too many times it perhaps ends up like a lynch mob. Like people who think they have the right end of things, taking action that is perhaps more extreme than is warranted, or just not doing their due diligence, I guess. And again, you don't have that sort of, let's get all the information under one roof and we can get witness testimonies, we can cross-reference stuff and see who's lying. That feels like it is kind of the primary way you check whether or not someone is lying. You try to reconcile it with everything else that's going on.
Who sent this to me? Have a feeling this will be great.
And people's willingness to manufacture and fuel drama for the sole purpose of milking content and attention.
This is very nice. This is very...
Again, I'm not saying this never happens. I'm not saying it's never good what happens, but I kind of commiserate a little bit with what he's talking about. Not entirely. And it feels like perhaps the type of people who express his sentiments are all too often are the individuals at the epicenter of something that they really don't want publicized, so they might have a number of motivations to be so down on the online discourse type thing, the online discourse sphere of YouTubers or whatever the crap.
Refreshing. Normally when people talk about me, my viewers, they complain because my output is so low. I'll just go a month without making a video because
Boo!
I don't feel like it. I won't argue with them. I am a content god.
For the purposes of this video, I don't want or need you to care about the drama we're discussing in and of itself.
Yeah, I believe that this guy really wants people not to care. Seems about right.
What I want to draw your attention to are some of the patterns on display that hopefully you will watch out for moving forward, whether in internet drama, political theater, or douchebag coworkers.
Dear audience, here's what to do if your coworkers start acting like harmful opinions and talking about how you've been weird with a kid.
Mm-hmm. I hope that's not like exactly a generalized experience that everyone has.
Alright, dude, let's hear your strats.
I think I've set a reasonable standard on this channel, but just to catch you up so that you understand where I come from, I try not to take most internet beef super seriously. I'll make a little fun of people when they try and fail to debunk me or whatever.
No need to ever say this. Just behave in such a way. Right now, you're simply broadcasting that you have issues. Show, don't tell. Embody, don't posture.
But it's...
That's true. So, like, I guess I have a hard time sometimes with people, like, telling the difference between, like, being methodical versus ostentation. Because I feel like I tend to be, like, one of the least methodical individuals in the world. When people are kind of like, this is how I feel things, and this is how I do things, and this is the way it, like... I'm not for sure whether they're just being braggadocious or some crap, or if that's just me being kind of bringing my own bias into it, because I don't think I tend to be that way. I don't know.
It's not all that deep. Ultimately, no matter how gross I think their beliefs are, the person on the other end is still a human being, and I don't want to be like a source of torment for someone.
Do you think you could be? Where do you guys find these people?
No, it's actually kind of maybe good. There are people who, like, I feel like, I'm not saying they could never be dangerous, but it feels like their anger only ever really rises to the level of, like, petulance, kind of a petty little anything, whatever. Like, I don't know if they could muster up the zeal with which to do really any real damage, I guess. I don't know. That tends to be my perception of some people.
This is the yin to Skitty Bitty's yang.
I think these people need to learn the meaning of fear.
Like, they're, like, profoundly unintense individuals. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if they feel things that to the extent that they could actually muster up some sort of violent urge.
People are getting way too bold.
This is the VTuber. I'm assuming it's this thing. All right.
I think these people need to learn the meaning of fear. People are getting.
And see, this person, like, this feels like it's not mutually exclusive with this. You have people who talk very big when they're alone, when they're in a scenario where they have absolute control. They will behave a very specific sort of way, but you put them in a sort of real world scenario. You put them in a conversation with someone they disagree with, and they're kind of the most. They'll fold like a cheap suit, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Maybe I'm not the person who should be lecturing on this. I like to think that most times I'm not super malleable in that regard. I don't know. Maybe that's just wishful thinking.
Way too bold saying disgusting shit on the internet.
Point being, I have no inherent issue with the decision to make a video about someone you don't like very much. That is completely in bounds.
Thanks for your permission. I appreciate it.
I do.
Sorry. Okay.
Point being, I have no inherent issue with the decision to make a video about someone you don't like very much. That is completely in bounds.
Okay, am I reading this wrong, or is this guy some sort of gaybo? Like I was just watching the way he was like.
Issue with the decision to make a video about someone you don't like very much. That is
Eye roll. That's what was setting me off, I think.
completely in bounds.
Thanks for your permission. I appreciate it.
I do, however, have a problem with how certain people do it.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being a little bit prejudiced there.
Content warning for discussions of sexual abuse.
Why? Is this going to be another one of those?
Okay, so again,
Do it. Content warning for discussions of sexual abuse.
Why?
Okay.
Is this going to be another one of those, this person's been raped so they can do whatever they want, people? Had enough of that with the lolicons, man.
The subject of our response today is a YouTuber who calls himself Harmful Opinions. This is a YouTuber who primarily makes anti-woke drama slop,
He says with videos shitting on Leaflet, Tectone, and Chibi reviews on screen.
and his most recent drama content
Scrolling down to videos shitting on Nux Taku, videos about plagiarism.
surrounds Nintendo content creator Skitty Bitty.
Scrolls down to me shitting on Candace Owens and David Wood. Are you blind? Did you look at what
yeah, we actually watched the David Wood one. It was a pretty good video. I don't know if I agree with him necessarily on everything, but still.
you were screen capping? Or is that anti-woke to you? As before, it's refreshing though, and normally I get called a Hassan suck-up.
Hopefully that's an accurate characterization.
Yeah, I don't know. He seems generally like an equal opportunity pisser or offerer. I don't know. He pisses off everyone equally. Goes after everyone equally. I don't know. I don't mean to glaze harmful opinions, but I wouldn't put him in the category of being like super partisan.
Sure, buddy. Okay.
We're going to do something a little bit unusual by watching his videos in reverse. Actually, after writing most of this script,
You scripted this? This is a poor performance already if you're going off the top of the dome, like I do in my vids. I just sit down, talk for 10, 20 minutes, whatever, depending.
See, I don't know. Like, I have kind of mixed feelings about the whole notion of scripting. Like, I think at some point, I guess I don't know. It's probably fine. Like, it's still your authentic feelings. It can maybe come off sometimes as inauthentic, but yeah, I think it's probably all right.
In this
I think in this case, harmful opinions just criticizing the fact that it's a video that sucks, and he also scripted it. I generally Again, I think it's fine to do so. I generally don't. I come up with a kind of a short outline of maybe what I want to talk about, and I'll read over it before I do the kind of monologue at whatever the crap. If I have an idea I want to express, in any case, that's kind of how I do it. Like, I don't write down exactly what I want to say and then read it off as I'm doing it. Generally speaking. No, pretty much always. I don't know if I've ever been actually like reading off of a script while I'm doing the video.
case, it's a bit different. I'm playing the video, talking, but you get what I'm saying.
he's released now a fourth video on this supposed drama that I will not be responding to. Just keep in mind, as soon as the next...
Sorry, I'm just thinking about this. I think I think sometimes I do actually write down mostly what I want to say. But again, I don't think I'm reading off something. Sorry, we'll get back to... I digress.
sentence in this video that I wrote most of this before he made even more content off of it. Unsurprisingly, this is a guy who loves the opportunity to keep a drama going for multiple videos.
Yeah, that's fair enough. If shit keeps going, I'll keep talking.
And in this case, he unwittingly
Poisoning the well. No.
gives the game away.
It's
To be fair, I don't know if I can really judge people on that. I quite often go off on people before I get into the actual reaction. So I don't know if it's I don't know. I feel like maybe it's possible to be too forensic about that sort of thing.
pretty transparent, man. I see stuff that compels me to make a video, I make a video. People talk back or something happens, I talk more.
This video is titled Skitty Bitty versus Parental Consent.
The first complaint is that I supposedly left important information out of my coverage when I talked about it. And you know what? Fair enough, you're right, I did. The second complaint is more of an accusation that I'm trying to make Skitty Bitty look like a nonce, that I'm pedo-jacketing. You seem to have misunderstood.
Nonce. I think I like both nonce and pedo jacketing. They're kind of nice terms. I have to incorporate them somehow to my well, hopefully I don't have to incorporate them into my everyday lingo. That would be unfortunate, but
I showed Skitty Bitty doing that to other people. Well, I went out of the way to say nothing of that kind of stuff was happening in that Discord. Not everything that is inappropriate with kids is sexual. It is nonetheless still inappropriate. And on top of all of that, the details I cut out when talking about it.
it's like I don't know. It feels like just don't let your kids be on. Maybe it feels like a little authoritarian, but I feel like generally speaking, again, I tend to think of it in terms of, okay, the worst person in your town. Think of that person, right? Now think of that like an extrapolation of that to the worst individuals you've ever heard about in the entire world. That is what you're sending your kid into online. That's the potential, at least, involved. And it feels like it's the notion of letting your kids like completely unsupervised, unregulated online. It would be akin to just bad parenting wise to leaving your child on a street corner in New York City. Like that's kind of what I would compare it to as far as like negligence. Yeah, I don't know.
Were cut out for the purpose of harm reduction. What I omitted was something that makes Skitty look a little pedo-y.
Okay, I have two things to say here. First, my standard vis-a-vis internet pedo-jacketing. It's bad.
Very agreeable, sure.
You shouldn't implicitly or explicitly accuse people of serious crimes simply because you think they're bad people.
It's not just of doing a crime, it's of being in an unacceptable state of existence, of having an attraction to kids. Part of why it's nasty is because if you're just painting them that way, they can't really prove they're not. A more concrete accusation of an action can be disproven. Accusations regarding how you feel, harder to shake. Gotta be real certain before you go in like that.
Unless you have meaningful evidence to back it up.
Yep, to be clear, bro's right. I was just adding a bit more.
I do, however, think it's perfectly fine, for instance, to point out that supporters of Donald
I was gonna say something about the whole notion, like a state of existence versus what you do. Like, I guess I don't know that. Like, there's maybe a way of thinking about that, because like the notion of, okay, so let's take it out of the realm of pedophilia. A person who wants to commit murder but doesn't commit murder isn't a murder. But I guess I don't know. A drug addict, in spite of the fact that they might not, like, in spite of the fact that they are sober, is still on some level, like you would still consider them maybe an addict on some level, and people would say that, like, I'm still an addict, like that crap is right there the second I let go. And maybe that's a better way to compare it, because like people don't usually get all hot and bothered over the notion of murder. It's not the same sort of instinctive drive most of the time, like unless you're maybe Hannibal Lecter or something. Maybe that would be the distinction there.
Trump are pedophile defenders. We have plenty of...
Yep, to be clear, bro's right. I was just adding a bit more.
I do, however, think it's perfectly fine, for instance, to point out that supporters of Donald Trump are pedophile defenders. We have plenty of evidence that Donald Trump is guilty of this crime, and...
Any of that aside, I would actually relax my standards for public figures and especially politicians.
His supporters, many of whom are not...
That's probably true, like the... See, I don't know. Like, at what point do YouTubers become public figures? Right? How big do you have to be before you're like, okay, they're on the same level as a politician, just fame-wise. They can do a lot of the. They have like that same level of influence. How many followers do they have to have before you start to equate them with these other public figures? There might be a fine line there that needs to be walked.
Predators themselves are morally culpable for continuing to support him. You'll notice in the screenshot HO used that SB was doing the latter, not the former.
Ah, not true. The latter was done to Octo. The former was done to anyone he interacts with online. When you say his...
So I think Skitty Bitty had gotten into some sort of whatever the crap with some sort of online drama with Dr. Octo, who was being mean or accusing them of something. And again, like on her channel, she was saying, whatever the crap. But then on her Discord, she was telling people to go flag his video. It was a little bit duplicitous. I think that's what Harmful Opinions had maybe initially called out. Could be wrong.
His whole account is simping for Nazi pedophiles. You're saying something about the people he interacts with or says positive things of. Are you a gamer? It's an AoE pedo claim. Hits everyone, especially people that Skitty has previously put a spotlight on Octo in.
For those of you who aren't gamers, I'm pretty sure AoE means area of effect. It's in reference to the damage you do in a video game with whatever character.
Interacting with. Are all of them pedophiles with concrete evidence? If he literally only interacts with pedophiles, fair enough, Jesus Christ, but I ain't digging into that. Did you?
Second, let us imagine for a moment that we live in...
Sorry, I'm just glitching out here. AoE, like area of effect, seems kind of vague because, well, like I would think of it in terms of like a rather large area effect, like an attack that affects more than one enemy, presumably. Like maybe that's the only area, or maybe that's the only thing in which you would actually have an AoE. I guess, I assume, because I assume if you're just damaging someone, then there's like a point of impact, and that's it. I don't know. It just feels like it's kind of weird in that an area of effect could be very, very small or in like really large. It could be one enemy or a dozen enemies. Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
But I ain't digging into that. Did you?
Second, let us imagine...
With. Are all of them pedophiles with concrete evidence? If he literally only interacts with pedophiles, fair enough, Jesus Christ, but I ain't digging into that. Did you?
Second...
See, I don't know if it's better to make an accusation against a whole bunch of people or one person individuals, because it feels like if you're just kind of saying, oh yeah, they're a bunch of Nazi pedophiles, what the crap, that might be considered to be just kind of a vague hyperbole type statement. If you make a pointed accusation against one individual, it feels like it could be seen as something that's more serious, like it's an actually serious accusation. If that makes sense. And maybe that's a little bit worse. I don't know. The notion of demonizing people as well, like just in groups, is not great. But
let us imagine for a moment that we live in a world where what HO has just said is true.
It is.
He has...
Who calls him HO? Some Zoomer bullshit?
Through investigative techniques, uncovered evidence that a YouTuber is guilty of predatory behavior.
Just a YouTube transcript search, and in my opinion, they are.
That's a really fucking weird thing to leave out of your video, ain't it?
No. Alright, let's hear it.
From his perspective, he's created a drama video exposing a YouTuber's inappropriate behavior with kids, and left out the alleged smoking gun.
I didn't just leave it out.
Oh, and again, like, I think the point Harmful Opinions was making, that this was not, it's bad, but it wasn't pedophilia. Like, not everything that's bad is maybe worth saying something about, worth making a serious accusation about, I guess. I think that would be the logic.
I cut it out of the video. Some people noted how severe my language was, despite having shown a milder thing. That's because originally I was talking about that as well, and I had to Frankenstein by recording a bit. Now, I'm looking at this blind, and I want to be fair, so let's listen to some more of what he says. Maybe he does understand or has figured out why.
Remember when Elon Musk got booted out of MAGA for a bit?
What in the fuck?
And posted that Donald Trump was covering up the Epstein files because...
I feel like whatever the crap, you know, the whole Palestine genocide thing is for other individuals, this guy's version of that is Donald Trump. Just saying.
his name was in there, and we collectively had to act like we didn't just watch a guy admit that he'd been covering for a child predator until it was
Eh.
no longer convenient for him.
That whole thing was like the quaggiest quagmire to ever exist, it feels like. I don't know. Poorly handled at the very least, I imagine.
Oh no, bro, you're being silly here.
Harmful Opinions wants you to think he's the Elon Musk in this situation.
Not really, and in no context would I wish to do that, unless we're talking about wealth.
Casually
Or intellect, for the record. Elon Musk is pretty smart.
sitting on incriminating information until he has a chance to weaponize it.
No, I didn't sit on it. I actually used it instantly, just not to make a YouTube video with. Feel free to disagree with me, but I am not.
See, well, I think Harmful Opinions would have sent some information to what's their face, Skitty Bitty, about it. But I don't know if he put it in his initial video because I don't know if he thought it was that serious at that point. Why does it look like this skull has like warts or something?
Joking when I say how fucked up I think it is for a YouTuber to be talking to someone they believe is 13 like that. I see any fucking YouTuber talking directly to a kid like that. You're getting snitched on. If it helps, imagine it was me talking like that directly to a kid, instead of a little ooh-woo age regression voice plushie role player.
Now,
It's a little bit creepy. Sorry, the whole notion. Like, maybe VTubers are perfectly fine people, but I hate the fact that some of them do this whole, like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no.
were I an anti-woke slop tuber, this would be the moment I'd start pedo-jacketing. Why would you cover this up, Mr. Opinions, sir? I'm kind of suspicious, don't you think?
Totally misunderstanding. There's a balance where if something might be a threat, awareness helps avoiding it, right? But at the same time, if you know stuff you think is real bad is out there, you don't want to draw attention of that person to it until you know the right people have their hands on everything. Like as this guy who's supposedly pumping out anti-woke slop, I could have made that video instantly. Why do you think I waited a week? It's a complicated balance. Feel free to disagree with my...
Okay, so the notion is, yeah. Like, I was just thinking of the equivalent of this would maybe be, an extreme example, obviously, but from the show The Mentalist, there was something where there was some sort of pedophile crap going on, and they were effectively, they knew a pedophile was out there, they knew he was doing stuff, but they didn't have enough evidence to get him, so they waited, and yeah, unfortunately there was a guy does another crime, they finally get him on what he needs to be gotten on, or whatever the crap. The question is, like, it's a balance of reward versus consequence. Like, is it possible to get the conviction you want? Is it possible to prove the point you want to prove with regards to blank person? I can kind of get the logic there.
approach. Feel free to disagree with how severe you think this stuff is. But I wasn't doing that.
Except, of course, I know exactly why he did this.
Absolutely not, because you're a YouTube-brained homunculus.
YouTube drama cycles operate on constantly increasing stakes. Every subsequent video has to make the situation bigger, worse, scarier in some way. H.O. admitted in his original video that he had looked and could find no evidence of real impropriety.
Totally untrue. I commented on the contents of the Discord. I suggested there was no sexual impropriety. There was some borderline stuff with someone with a minor tag talking about, like, who would date who and height and stuff. But I felt it didn't cross a line. Far from saying there was no real impropriety, I pointed out 2 examples. There's minor tags, the kind of thing I've been talking about being a bad idea for about a decade now, a feature which has now been changed. Good, and I suggested when you are so welcoming of minors, as young as 13, you shouldn't be linking them to Nazi pedophiles on Twitter.
But he wanted that sweet, sweet attention and possibly ad revenue.
I know people who watch my stream are raging at this guy. Don't encourage the bold fuck to leave more juicy stuff on the table. I'm already too lazy about making videos. Past year, maybe more than a year, I've spiked like half of the videos I've made.
So he left some minor details out.
Pun intended?
I'm assuming spiked in that case means leaving something to get them to take the bait or whatever the crap. Like a sting operation.
To give him an excuse to make a second follow-up video later.
I don't need an excuse to make videos. I would have happily talked about the same thing 5 times if I felt like it. I operate on whims. Actually look through my stuff. I think that's pretty apparent. Just every now and then I get something stuck in my craw.
And double his view count. The excuse he gives is that he left this information out as harm reduction.
Uh-huh.
To translate what that means, he knows it's bullshit.
No, I genuinely think it's totally fucked up. Some fucking weirdo stranger on the internet talking to a kid like that. No, I wasn't joking about feeling a bit fucking ill in my first video. That's not kidding. I wasn't pretending. I sorted.
See, I'm not sure if it comes up in this video, but I think the issue he had with Skitty Bitty, the problem of not exactly sexual overtures on their part. I don't know what the heck they are on their part, but they were No, I think it comes up in this. Maybe we'll wait. If it doesn't, I'll try to explain.
Advice, and I was advised to report it. I think maybe a fair critique would be that I talked about it at all. Maybe, but like I said, it's sort of a balance. I think people should know. I think it crosses the line into public interest. Again, feel free to disagree.
If he legitimately believed that kids were at risk, harm reduction would have necessitated he share it.
I did. Not in a YouTube video, though. Again, like, I could understand a criticism that you think I didn't wait long enough, but that was my judgment on the balance of...
So maybe I was getting a glitch. I thought he was not sharing it because he didn't think it was serious enough at that point in time, but maybe, again, maybe he was just sharing it, not, like you said, not in a video. I might have been wrong on that count.
People should know versus I don't want to give someone a chance to sweep stuff up.
Now, of course, even though HO has just admitted he's willing to leave
That's another thing to be considered.
out crucial information if it gives him an excuse to draw things out.
I used to stream for 8 hours a day. I can draw anything out forever if I feel like it with no excuse. Silly, raped, retarded, ghetto Hollywood YouTube mindset. Content brained.
We should probably look at that crucial information. By virtue of making content about Nintendo games, SB naturally has some kids in their audience.
And I mean, literally everyone does. How you manage that is what matters.
Here's the first relevant piece of investigative journalism in HO's video.
Skitty has also publicly passed a judgment on this young boy's parents, as they are ideological enemies.
I'm
Yeah, this is the thing I was talking about.
your dad. Go do your chores.
No, his parents are like homophobic, crazy people.
Okay, I'm your internet uncle.
Firstly, nice attempt at censoring the kid's name, but it's on screen. I just went for a standard of censoring any full usernames. But it's genuinely really hard, and I don't blame you because of how plastered with little kids Skitty's content is. Also, regarding the clip, can I just say that's fucking insane to me? Very normal, you know, just a stream where someone's amplifying the complaints of someone who claims to be 13 to thousands of people. Is that not bonkers? Hey guys, check this kid out. They're super fucking vulnerable and very receptive to anyone who validates their complaints about their parents.
That's a little bit goofy.
Let's check it out. What does this guy think about it?
Before we continue, I'd like to clarify something. If you are homophobic and allow that homophobia to influence how you raise your child, you are doing them harm. It doesn't necessarily mean you're an abusive monster or that you're a 100% terrible parent, but you are objectively putting your bigoted feelings over your child's well-being.
And the way to
That's very definitive. I don't know. Like a conservative Christian yourself, like I put it this way: I don't think making your child hate themselves or feel terrible because they, have certain inclinations is a good idea. But yeah, I don't know if I would take his side of things just as a general rule.
deal with that, of course, is to form some sort of weird, overly familiar personal relationship with a YouTuber, yeah? Yeah?
Harmful Opinions would like to make this a "you just hate Republicans" thing.
I'm impressed. He caught that I was doing something there. Not exactly my intention, though, not quite. The point is to, inflame, I guess, people like this guy and push them to be a bit more loose and free with how they justify the behavior of YouTubers. Has he fallen in the trap? Let's see.
But it isn't. This is a simple fact about human societies.
Immediately, it's looking
Mm-hmm.
like no, actually. Good job, mate.
I am perfectly willing to entertain ideological disagreements with people and have made it quite clear that we should humanize people we dislike. But I will not compromise on objective reality, and frankly, I refuse to coddle the feelings of...
Mm-hmm. I just can't help but think these are the type of people who would take scientific inquisitivity to the point of moral insanity, I guess. Like the type of people who say, well, the objective reality says that what was it, eugenics? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
homophobic weirdos who care more about their personal vendettas than taking care of their families.
Nice, agree.
Much like it would be fucking asinine to defend neglectful parenting as simply ideological disagreement, it is complete horseshit to defend bigoted parenting.
See, okay, presume he's correct. Presume everything he says is correct, and Skitty Bitty knows that this is correct about this person's parents. Okay, Do you think that's really the sort of thing you should bring up on a stream? Or do you think it'd be better if they brought that thing up to the proper authorities? If they can find out where the kid lives and they know in theory that a kid is being abused by their homophobic parents. He just kind of called out harmful opinions for doing the same thing. Now, Skitty Bitty is a person who knows something about this kid's parents, and instead of doing that, they're talking about it on their stream. Instead of, like, contacting maybe child services or something like that. Presumably, again, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing something that isn't there. But it feels like he's been a little bit duplicitous. Or maybe he just doesn't understand.
That way.
Nice and balanced. Fair enough. Are we going to go any deeper, though, and discuss the reality of the situation where this is occurring? That this is someone claiming to be a kid who is also asking other people who claim to be kids for their Discord details and so on and so forth. You know, appropriate ways to approach this, etc., etc. Looking forward, the answer is no. In a stream last year, Skitty plugged their Discord, and Young lamented that he wouldn't be able to join. He doesn't have a card, or I suppose a PayPal or anything that he could use.
This is the part I was thinking about.
To pay for access to get into the private Discord. His parents also presumably wouldn't want him joining the private Discord of a queerness-focused YouTuber. No problem though. Skitty was there to help.
Anyway, if you want to join the Patreon, but you don't have a credit card, what you should do is you should buy yourself a Visa gift card at a store. I'm joking mostly, but I'm actually not really joking. If you are a child and you have crazy homophobic parents and you need to buy anything really, you should buy a Visa gift card because
again, like I would say, like I don't know, the whole notion, like I feel like there are a lot of people these days who they're. I believe that it comes up in this, the notion of child autonomy. I don't know if children really can or should have autonomy in the fullest sense of the word. I don't think parents should, control, like be like hyper micromanagerial. But both in the eyes of the law and on a social level, parents possess an extreme degree of culpability for the behavior of the children, right? They have to pay for anything their children breaks. They have to provide for this child's home. They have to provide everything for this child until they reach an age where they can start working, etc., etc. So the notion of children having independence, not really, I guess. And again, short of actual abuse or stuff like that, I would maybe err on the side of giving parents some degree of latitude with regards to telling their kids what to do or what not to do. Right? I don't know if that's the right way of looking at it. It just feels like people these days are I don't know. And also, I don't think people necessarily like this are always completely disinterested in the fate of the children involved. I feel like of the people that are perhaps best suited to govern the growth of a child and their development, parents probably the best suited to that job as a general rule.
you could just spend that on anything. You can do that.
This now is the crux of HO's video. This was the horrible secret he was keeping. Now,
Yeah, totally insane, massive red flag behavior between a YouTuber and a child.
I want to recap what we just watched so that we're on the same page. In this stream, the child in question wanted to give a YouTuber money. The YouTuber jokingly explained how to give them money before then acknowledging it as good general advice outside of donating to YouTubers.
Funny way to say, explicitly stated they were not joking. I personally see someone hesitating about what they just said and then biting the bullet.
Yeah, it's kind of totally not serious, but yeah, kind of serious. Because it's kind of the way it's coming out.
If you're not a complete hack, it's very easy to see what happened here. Imagine for a moment you run a no-cash business. A potential customer comes up to you and says, "Gosh, I'd love to buy your products, but I only have cash." To which you reply, "Well, if you really want to give me money, you could open up a bank account and get a debit card."
Nope, you're not
Yeah, presumably in this scenario, it's not a 5-year-old who's doing that, and it's not like it's not a membership to a club. I don't know. Like, I think it's a fairly labored and or inaccurate metaphor. Anyways, yeah, you guys can check out the rest of this if you want. Addressing the allegations by harmful opinions. Kind of an interesting fellow. Looks a little bit like a gelding or something. So, P.S. Something I want to throw in here at the end. Probably goes without saying. Obviously, I think at some point, parents should start to give their children more independence to allow themselves to maybe ease them into the notion of being independent entirely, becoming an adult. And obviously, hopefully, that the child also becomes more self-sufficient, more self-restrained, and starts taking responsibility. But again, I think I would tend to give the latitude to the parents, especially in scenarios where the child is still very dependent and the parents are still very culpable for their behavior, for taking care of them, etc., etc. So, child autonomy, not so much. Child rights, sure. Child autonomy, eh. Hopefully that made sense. Anyways, all right, moving on. Hidden danger of accepting social norms. We watched some of this a while back, and I wanted to watch the rest of it, or at least some of the rest of it. So the first part of this, you can see the recap, kind of who is Cristiano Ronaldo. This is the worst walkout song. They were talking about walkout songs, yeah. Beckham versus Pitt. Do trends in the East always? There was a whole thing about norms that was interesting too, like what is normal in certain scenarios. All right, let's go with here. All right.
Yeah, it's interesting how often that is the case, where you'll have these acts of great heroism that don't have 100% success rate, and then the individual spends so much time looping on that.
Yeah, that's survivor guilt, I suppose, right?
I've known some people who've done some incredible things, like in the police or firework, for example, and it's the same thing. They don't ruminate on the heroism. It's the one
mistakes that they made.
Yeah,
the people they could have saved. I wonder what that's for. I guess that adaptively, it's trying to get you to focus on this is something pro-social that you could have done if you'd been more prepared, more skillful. Therefore, in future, you need to adapt your approach so that this doesn't happen.
I still don't know why they're wearing costumes. I don't know if I watched the whole way through this. I don't think I watched the whole way through this on stream. I think I stopped somewhere, but yeah. He's wearing a cartoon burglar, and the other guy's wearing some sort of Romanesque thing. Don't know why.
And again, maybe that's the reason for survivor guilt. Actually, Jared, just type it in ChatGPT. What is the reason? What is the adaptive reason for survivor guilt? Or adaptive explanation for survivor guilt? Because the only thing that I can think of is that it's supposed to try and guide your future behavior so that, well, I mean, fucking Bluetooth came up as a 1,000-year-old Norse god or something like that. So fuck knows if we're going to find out. What is the adaptive explanation? From an evolutionary or adaptive perspective, survivor guilt can be understood as a byproduct of mechanisms that help humans maintain social bonds, cooperation, and group cohesion. Okay, so my hypothesis is looking good so far. Basic idea is that in ancestral environments, humans survive and reproduce largely through belonging to a group.
Is this AI? I don't know if I trust AI, especially when it comes to anything wherein there's a significant amount of disagreement.
Person benefited while others suffered. There are often social consequences, so the inverse of that. Okay. Maintaining group cohesion. If you survive a dangerous event while close allies did not, feeling distress rather than indifference signals. Oh, that's cool. So because...
Do you ever feel that sometimes people try to overcomplicate stuff like that? I don't know. Yeah.
If something bad happens and you were one of the few that survived...
No, like maybe it's worthwhile to study these types of things. It is kind of interesting the way like you can fiddle with genetics to like select for certain behaviors. I think I've talked about this before, but there were people in Russia who created domesticated foxes, and I think the idea was they literally just took a batch of foxes and they killed off all of the ones who would bite people, who acted aggressive, and in several generations they had basically tame foxes. It's kind of interesting.
If you show that you feel distress as opposed to indifference, it reinforces to everybody else that you weren't selfish and an asshole, that you actually regret the fact that they died and that you didn't. I'm still a part of the group. I didn't take.
It's funny because I've also heard like a different type of thing where there would always be like a village psychopath, the type of person who would go out and kill the people who needed to be killed or do like really terrible stuff for everyone else. And it's kind of an interesting type of notion too.
Take it all for myself. I didn't just swim out the back of the bus myself. I really did try. Reciprocal altruism and fairness mechanisms, they've got strong intuitions. So when we receive an unexpected benefit relative to others, even when we did nothing wrong, our minds may interpret the situation as a violation of fairness expectations. Survivor guilt may arise from the same psychological machinery that makes people pretty uncomfortable receiving disproportionate rewards. Okay. Motivation to help survivors. Yeah. Okay. So it encourages caring for bereaved families, supporting injured group members. Counterfactually, costly signal of commitment as well. Grief and function, you can't fake it. That's an interesting one. So that's the reason. Why would it be the case that when you're sad or distressed or overwhelmed with negative emotion, that the same thing your eyes do to make sure that your eyes stay lubricated would go into overdrive? Like, why do we cry? Like, what's the reason for crying?
Well, that's kind of an interesting notion because generally speaking, it's in scenarios where sadness is involved, not hatred. Because you would imagine in cases where you were angry or afraid, like the notion of, well, maybe fear in certain scenarios, at least if there's a sense of impotence involved, perhaps. But like, generally speaking, if you're in a scenario where you can actually do something, or if you're angry or something like that, there wouldn't be really that urge to cry. So, I don't know. Maybe it's different in different people too.
And one of the adaptive explanations for this, which is pretty fascinating, is it's such a costly signal to do because the most important sense you have is your eyes. And if you're prepared to fill them with water to say how much I've been hurt or how much I'm suffering, you're in an unbelievably vulnerable position. You can't fight, you can't see, you can't defend yourself. Tears are coming out and you can't fully operate. This is how much I'm in pain. I'm in so much pain that I'm essentially exposing my neck to you.
So how do you then factor in tears of joy? Why do we cry out of joy?
I did ask this question. So it could be a spandrel, which is just a crossover between the two, but it could just be the same thing. It could be a very costly signal. Hey, look.
Spandrel. I need to use that one. So I've heard the term spanner, but I think that might be, I'm assuming that might be a different thing. I think a spanner is just like a wrench or something.
At how much I love this thing that's happening. I am here, collective effervescence, me and the group, we are one. I experience this thing with you too. And I do think when it comes to sort of emotions, sadness, like peak joy, joyful experiences, beautiful experiences, and sad or sort of dreadful experiences, they kind of have this same, like, part of the pitch of the chord that they play is kind of similar, right? It's like an outside of the body. At least when I experience stuff that's like really intense, whether it's good or bad, I always feel it sort of across the top of my shoulders, my traps, and like sort of everything feels like it lifts up a little bit if I'm being delivered bad news by somebody, or if there's something that's really beautiful happening. It always feels like I'm sort of being lifted a bit. So there seems to be
that's kind of an interesting. You can always the notion of like bad news, when you hear bad news, like that sensation is something that's kind of really prevalent to me. It's kind of like you're sinking, right? Your heart's sinking or something like that. The whole notion that sensation is kind of strange to, like, I think they go into this like they're talking about like all the different types of sensation you feel when whatever blank thing happens. It's intriguing type of like why and how does that exist?
similarities, resonance between those two.
There's two visuals, Jared, if you could pull them up. There's one of how emotion feels in the body. I don't know if you've seen this one where it's like
A
all the
heat map.
heat maps.
Yeah.
And there's
Heat
also
map of emotions.
yeah, there's also the topography of tears, how different types of tears look under a microscope, and they're slightly different.
No way.
Is this artist?
Constitution?
Yeah, this artist produced it. Where so
Top left.
so here
Anger, fear, disgust, happiness, surprise, neutral, anxiety, love, depression, contempt, pride, shame, envy. Interesting.
Is how emotions at least feel in the body, which kind of makes sense.
But is that a map? Mapping emotion. So is that self-report?
I think this is more self-report of how it feels.
Okay,
I
so
haven't gone any
anger,
deeper into it.
anger seems pretty right. So anger's sort of above the upper chest, arms and hands a lot, lower face a lot, and head.
And if you start with neutral on the right, so you kind of see, okay, this is neutral,
Nothing.
and then you compare that to all the different ones.
Surprise is definitely a lot in the head. That's cool. Sadness is kind of in the middle of the chest. Happiness sort of everywhere. Disgust definitely in the stomach. So disgust and anxiety both in the stomach the most. That would make sense because disgust is a pathogen rejection. Fear, middle of the chest. I think that seems quite right. Interesting that happiness is basically just tuned down love. Depression's cool. That depression, it says here, it's just sort of a low energy state or on your extremities as opposed to anxiety. And I would agree with that. I think anxiety is a much more active version of depression. Contempt, like.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the contempt one that is on. I hope that's something weird.
Existing exclusively in the head is pretty cool. Pride, so the swelling in the chest makes sense. Shame, the cheeks, that's people get embarrassed. And envy, sort of little bit of head and some heart. That's actually, would you disagree with any of those?
I think it feels accurate as trying to be neutral right now. Could you search topography of tears, please, Jared? This was done by, I think, an artist.
Okay, so that is an actual. It's not AI. It's an actual person, I think. Maybe I don't know if the one before was, because that looked like it was just a list of things that they were pumping into Grok or something.
Go to that video, that Instagram video. Let's just see what this lady's got to say. Third one. Click and open.
That your tears look different underneath a microscope depending on the emotion that you're experiencing. This project was called The Topography of Tears by Rosalind Fisher. She's a photographer, and what they did is they looked at tears underneath a microscope, and you will see that depending on...
I kind of like this one right here. Feels like I sometimes watch blacksmithing and stuff. Like they could do like a pretty cool Damascus pattern. Like I often thought it would be like awesome if you could create some sort of you know the pattern you get on windows when it's frosty, like a fractal type thing. I think that's actually like it would be a really interesting pattern to try and reproduce in some sort of Damascus form, if you could. I don't know if that is fractal the right term. I don't know, like that's what I'm thinking of, like that pattern you get on windows when it's frosty outside or whatever, and you get this kind of really beautiful leaf type thing going on.
What these participants were experiencing, their tears look different. This is tears of laughter versus tears of change, tears of grief versus tears from cutting onions.
Wow.
This is tears when someone...
Okay. Why do the cutting onions ones look the prettiest to me? That's annoying.
Someone is experiencing a moment of catharsis, whereas someone is experiencing a moment of change. I'm a therapist, and I often show this to my clients because I think it gives a really good demonstration that crying is actually really important at times to release certain things from our body. And being able to see that our tears actually look different depending on what we're experiencing.
Why does she have mushrooms on her dashboard? She better have kids. No, I don't know. Feels I don't know.
I think really demonstrates that really well.
Feels weird.
Did you know?
Insane.
That's cool. I want to know what the... Fuck, I just asked Jared, as ChatGPT, from the topography of tears study, what are the differences in the structure of tears, or why are they there? Because I want to know what is inside of the tear that's different. Is it more salt content? Is it like what? How much shit's in tears? Like, I guess maybe you could have, I don't know, is cortisol in the blood that leaks into the tears? But surely tears are kind of like sperm, produced in advance and then released. There are three main categories. Basal.
Well, you actually have you do have tear ducts, and I'm assuming there's some sort of gland involved, right?
Tears, constantly produced to lubricate the eyes. Reflex tears produced in response to irritants like onions, and emotional tears. Key biochemical difference, here we go, is that emotional tears contain...
Again, I don't know how much I trust ChatGPT or AI in general with regards to, especially stuff that's like, I think with regards to stuff where there's kind of a consensus on it, it can do really well. I generally still try to double check it, but I don't like the notion, especially when you have something that's maybe a little bit controversial or a little bit novel as a subject, because it feels like it'll just fill in the blanks with whatever the crap it wants. I don't know.
Contain higher concentrations of certain proteins and hormones, including prolactin, adrenocorticotropic hormone, stress-related hormone, leuenkephalin.
Basal tears. Tears, emotional tears. Prolactin.
A natural pain-relieving peptide. Differences in minerals such as potassium and manganese. When tear dries on a slide, these dissolved substances crystallize into different patterns. Wow, there isn't a simple one-to-one mapping of grief always looks like X and joy always looks like Y. The patterns vary considerably, even within the same emotional category.
Interesting.
The amount of ratios of protein, salts, hormones, and other biochemical... I didn't realize that you had...
So I wonder if some of that would depend just on your diet in general as well, not just like whatever you're putting into your body would affect the structure of the whatever the crap.
That much. Obviously, you can cry for different reasons. If I start cutting an onion in front of you, or if you're in pain, or if you're feeling something, or if you're just lubricating your eyes.
Testosterone tears as well.
What's
The higher T that you have, the completely different.
That's Greg
makeup of
Levecki
you. That's
from
what,
Bloom.
yeah.
Greg Levecki's tears from Bloom are actually a protein shake.
Yeah.
For the people that don't know, Greg Levecki has got 2,000 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone.
I'm assuming that's good. I don't know.
Yeah, Greg's tears.
I suppose that's actually in this bag. It's not money. It's just Greg's next testosterone over.
You pull up Greg's tears, they're just fucking
Yeah, exactly. They've vascular tears. Yeah. It's the emotions thing's been interesting. Trying to navigate this over the last 18 months or so. I still think kind of interested in what the conversation around men showing emotions is. Obviously, I've talked about it a lot. Like everyone's talked about it a lot. But one of the interesting wrinkles that I learned about was I don't think that men are particularly good at receiving other men's emotions. Like we often talk about guys need to open up more, look at all of the people that are taking their own lives, whatever it is, however many men per minute or men per day are doing this, you need to open up. But a lot of the time, if a guy does that on the internet, it's not just women that...
Well, to be fair, I think doing anything on the internet, maybe not the best of scenarios in which to express oneself, right? It feels like the reaction will be of an extremity, whether it's good or bad. It will rarely be a well-balanced reaction to that. I would either go to someone who knows what, like, if it's a mental issue, I would say go to someone who has some sort of expertise in what you're going through, or if it's, just go to your friends if it's something like maybe less serious. I don't know. Not online in my humble opinion.
Unaccommodating to a guy that's maybe crying or feeling bad or seeming a little weak. Like guys, I would guess on average are actually more discarding. Men are less accommodating of other men's sad emotions than women are.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time, these would be the same men that would say something to the effect of, wow, men's mental health's in a state like nobody really cares that much. You go, okay, so which one is it? Because if you're not prepared to hold your boy, like while he's going through a hard time.
That's true. Like, I think I'd be prepared to talk to someone about it. But as far as like someone crying, I would feel profoundly uncomfortable trying to comfort someone in that scenario. So I feel like, maybe get a wife or something. Or for that matter, just go to maybe women you trust. Because like, if you're needing to express emotion, I would say that would be maybe the best, whatever. Like, go to women you trust, or like someone you trust but aren't attracted to, presumably. And, express that in that scenario. Or if you're married, go to your wife or something like that. Otherwise, yeah. if you need to talk about something, I imagine you just go to your friends or whatever and just talk it through. Yeah.
Time, you don't also
Plus the psychologist if you need it.
really get to say, we need to talk about men's mental health more. You need to put your emotions where your mouth is, so to speak.
My natural thought, at least from my experience, is I don't expect friends to be these pure mixed martial artists that have everything across the board.
Mhm.
So I know if, let's say, for example, I want to break down in tears, there's certain people who I'd speak to. And then there's other friends where if I, you know what I mean, want to pull it together,
Yeah.
I'll speak to them. So this, like, having a little bit more of a decentralized
Mm.
on-chain friend base. I just think, yeah, I think expecting the person who helps you to pull it together to then also be the person that's perfect with your emotions, it's hard to have that.
That's a really good point.
I agree, but if it's the person who is saying we need to have better resources for men's mental health, but they're also not being accommodating, that just seems like a kind of hypocrisy.
I don't know. Like, there's a lot of people who say we need better, health care or something. That doesn't mean they're going to go become a doctor themselves. Like, it feels like there might be. You would maybe assume that everyone can handle people's emotions really well. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Like, guys might have a harder time just expressing their emotions, much less helping other people with those same emotions. It's not. I don't know if it's necessarily something that everyone would excel in.
To me, and this is from Men Are Good, Tom Golden's thing, and it makes sense because what you basically have as a like, I think that it takes a lot of work for guys to get over their sort of visceral ick of other men's sad emotions. This is a price that's maybe not seen by women, or it's also hidden by men. But if there's a guy who's able to sit and hold, like Charlie Hooper, for instance, or Connor Beaton, or Joe Hudson, or Dr. K, these are people that are trained professionally to be able to do this, obviously. The fact that they can sit, they have had to get over a lot of their programming, because your programming as a man is, if I'm around another guy who doesn't seem to be able to hold it together emotionally, he's an unreliable ally. How do I know that when we go on our next hunt, or when the tribe from the next valley comes and tries to attack us, that he's actually going to be able to hold it together? How do I not know that he's going to break down in tears? This is the same reason. This is a spicy one. I need to put a second fucking pair of glasses on for this. William Costello taught me that most homophobia in men isn't homophobia, it's femophobia. So we're actually the
Intriguing notion.
disgust mechanism that gets turned on, or the aversion that some men have to seeing gay men, isn't necessarily about the gayness, it's about the femininity that is being presented by a man. And that's the same mechanism that unreliable ally, if this guy doesn't seem to be showing the typical masculine sort of control, conquer, aggression,
See, that's kind of strange because I imagine there's kind of a high variability when it comes to like a hyper flamboyantly gay person, as opposed to, like, on the other end of the spectrum, a person who has gay sex and that's about it. In every other way, they are as masculine as can be. I'm not sure if there would be like different reactions to different types of gay men as well. I don't know.
toes forward energy that I expect from other guys. What happens when there is some sort of altercation or issue in future that we need to step in on? So yeah, femophobia, homophobia is like kind of interesting.
I immediately think of who's the most masculine gay man in
Who's
the
the most
world,
masculine gay
who
man
then
you know?
breaks that, who creates a paradox.
Tell me, who's the most masculine gay man that you know?
I don't know. I'm usually multiple drinks deep at the time.
That is a fucking great question.
Luke Evans, actor. That's what I was thinking of. Like the person who's like gay, but you really wouldn't tell it. I don't know. I don't know actually. That's the person that came to mind though. I think Douglas Murray. Oh, give me a second here. Is this gonna go?
A lot of the tech bro people,
No, I was thinking. Okay, so back to what I was saying. I think Douglas Murray is. I think he's mentioned at one point he's considered an honorary straight person because he's conservative or something like that. So maybe Douglas Murray. He actually I think he was great friends with Roger Scruton, which I didn't like listen to a lot of Roger Scruton stuff, but he kind of like Douglas Murray kind of has the same air about him a little bit. Yeah, Douglas Murray, final decision.
Would you look at Peter Thiel and guess gay? I don't think I'd look at him and guess gay.
He was.
He just looks strange, honestly. Do you know, actually, probably the person I would probably guess is that whatever the crazy person. I don't think he is actually gay, but he's like trying to live forever or whatever the crap. Some sort of transhumanist bullshit. I think he started some company and now he just he gets blood injections from his son. That guy, I would guess he was into some weird stuff. Like, apparently he's not gay. He has a son, and I think he's married, or I assume he's married. But he is a strange individual.
Was in the closet for a long time until Gorka.
Yeah, with the Hulk Hogan thing. By the way, if you need a new listen on Audible of a very old, relatively old book, Ryan Holiday's book, Conspiracy, guy that's written a lot about Stoicism. Books on Stoicism are good. This one's his best one by a distance. So fucking good. You tell me you've read it.
A while ago.
It's fucking amazing. It's so fantastic.
What's the plot? It's around Hulk Hogan.
So Peter Thiel gets ousted by Gorka. I think it's Gorka's subsidiary company. I can't remember what it's called. That was reporting on Silicon Valley, and I swear the headline was something like "Peter Thiel's gay as shit, people." And at this point, he still wasn't out about the fact that he is. And he held on to this for maybe 5 or 6 years. And he's building this case behind the scenes. And he recruits this guy called Mr. A. Mr. A was this operator that came to him who was just going to be like a legal expert, Machiavellian conniving sort of guy. And they start to look for ways to take down this company. And then the Hulk Hogan sex tape happens. And during the trial for the Hulk Hogan sex tape, it turns out that Terry Bolleo, Hulk Hogan's just got like infinity money. He's got the best lawyers. He just can drive this thing into the ground to keep on taking Gorka down. It turns out that Peter Thiel uses the Hulk Hogan sex tape as a way to get back at the organization and reporters that ousted him as gay. Nearly 10 years ago by the time that this thing happens. And the revenge is a dish best served cold. Is no better epitomized by any other story than that. Like a decade of just sitting on it and seething and having, this huge secret that you've kept as a very public person who's early into Facebook and supporting like conservative candidates. And yeah,
it's widely discussed the evil nature of social media.
Yeah. Peter Thiel is kind of an interesting character because, I don't know, I didn't know he was supporting conservative candidates, but man, do you guys ever hear Palantir and that whole thing? It's a little bit unsettling, all the stuff that goes into whatever that stuff. I don't know. I guess I can't say I'm necessarily a fan of Peter Thiel, and it's not necessarily a gay thing, but he's got some weird stuff.
Yeah, or the ills of social media that exist today. A lot of people hark back to this previous long gone era.
Where you're from.
But where I am from. No, not quite there just yet. But the thing people forget about the golden era that they're harking back to is the shit. We always forget the shit. And even the journalist standards that used to exist, the amount of journalists, particularly British press, that would pay people to sleep with people, then report the stories. This was
wow. That is kind of a nasty, that's dirty pool.
Regular thing in journalism in the UK. Even numerous football players, athletes, they'd have to be constantly wary of, does this person actually like me? Or has a well-known British publication who I
feel like stuff like that almost I would be almost certain stuff like that still probably happens a little bit. It might just be a little bit more well covered. And I guess I imagine when stuff like that happens, people might just get thrown to the wolves or plausible deniability type thing.
Shan't name because they're still going. Is paying, or they may pay somebody to approach me. Is using it as a story. That was a thing. That was why. That was common. Like what they did to Teal.
Honeypot type scenario.
Should be a crime.
And that is that legal? Was that legal?
I don't know.
But guess what's the difference between a kiss and tell and pay and a pay and kiss and tell? Like the order of the money is the only thing that's different here.
Yeah. But
and it feels like it would be, I guess, I don't know. Like you could probably assume that if a person gets paid, like I feel like they would be really hard to pin down though. Like exactly what was going on and why so and so did what to who, or
when the invoice technically gets cleared, always comes down to finance.
Yeah. Well, it depends if you've got a negative cash
follow the money, so they say.
flow conversion cycle. Do you want to explain why you were so obsessed with Gymshark's negative cash flow conversion cycle?
No. First off, we've
don't defend yourself.
No.
Stop defending yourself.
So for people who want to know what a cash flow conversion cycle is, which is approximately about 1% of people listening, I'll get through it fast. Essentially, a cash flow conversion cycle is when you get the money. So let's say, for example, Chris is running Newtonic. He'll pay a manufacturer to make this beautiful drink. Then he will obviously sell it to potentially supermarkets, big stores around the UK. There's a crunch period of, well, how much credit can I get with manufacturers, and then how much credit can I get with the supermarkets? Because if you have to pay your manufacturers today for stock that will arrive in 3 months, and then the supermarket doesn't pay you for 3 months, that's I think a positive cash flow conversion cycle. So a negative cash flow conversion cycle is when you get you almost have a delayed from the manufacturers, and then you can sell right away, which is a lot of what e-commerce companies do.
Trying to figure it out, I guess.
So I was once at a bar in Manchester talking to my friend about
Well, so you don't have to pay the manufacturers until you get the product. I don't know.
Negative cash flow conversion
I'm assuming
cycles, and we saw these
Just repelling any woman
saw
within
these-
a
well,
5
this is
meter
it.
radius.
No. We saw this group of girls like look over and like say hello, and I had a girlfriend at the time, so I wasn't going to do anything. But I just started laughing at the thought of if only they could hear, they would be repulsed.
Well, we've done that. Was it?
So I'm assuming like a negative cash flow would be the good one, right? You would want to be able to pay the manufacturers as late as possible, like right before you got paid from the supermarket. I don't know.
It's Summer of Loud Festival last year in the amphitheater, the Georgia Amphitheater here in Austin, and we were backstage and we got all the cool passes, and there were all of these like cool metal chicks walking around, and then a couple came over and sat down next to us. What the fuck were we talking about? I swear it was something like this. There was some debate that we were having, and these girls sat down from a distance, and we had a couple of our kind of like super chatty mates with us. Keegan was with us, right? Who's essentially like proper Roman Adonis, not you, LARP.
The Chad's Chad.
Yeah, he's the Chad's Chad. And these women come over and obviously look, thinking, what are they going to be talking about? It's going to be so cool and sexy.
And we're back.
We all come from a conversion rate optimization background. And the blended NCPA of our Facebook ads manager could be doing with a little bit of improvement. Well, tell me how many you're split testing on the back end. It's interesting. I'm not sure if Opus 5.5 is actually going to be as good as people expect. And they just...
I was just remembering a scene from Corner Gas, Canadian sitcom, really good. I think I've mentioned this before. It has no laugh track, so that's a bonus. But there's just this one time when I think the girl had said something completely weird, and then the guy was like, "I have never been more attracted to you than I am right now." It's just like he kind of leans in and does that. The delivery was pretty good.
Slowly over time got this look of it wasn't boredom, it was closer to disgust. It was like watching somebody desecrate a beautiful temple, because what they saw was this amazing potential in Keegan, this beautiful man, but the way that he was handling himself and what he was talking about.
I'm going to go on a limb and say there's a little bit of false modesty, but We'll leave it where it is.
The biggest takeaway I always get whenever I'm on a friend's birthday or a bachelor party, there'll be a moment where I'll just start chuckling to myself. Often it'll be somebody might have a girlfriend, like one of the guys will have like a new relationship where she's been like really wary about him going to this birthday party or bachelor party. Meanwhile, it's me in a 1 hour debate at dinner talking about whether Ruud van Nistelrooy was a better footballer than Thierry Henry. Like, that's what they don't see.
Yeah.
Or like Jim Shark's negative cash flow conversion cycle. I think if a lot of guys' girlfriends or wives could see, they have this imagination that there's going to be all this chaos and these girls that are coming over and the strip club.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's usually a Google Sheet or Excel formulas.
It's us trying to track down that guy that bought the cigars and opened up the Strait of Hormuz by sneaking himself into the middle of Iran.
Yes.
Yeah. But I wonder if it might be inverse. It might be the fact that the guys that you don't think are getting up to naughty shit while they're away probably are.
Yes.
And the guys that you don't think are the guys that you think are getting up to it aren't.
That's all. I tend to like, on principle, perhaps mistrust individuals who seem perfect because no one is, and that feels like it is the glitch. If a person seems perfect, okay, what are they getting up to? If a person is kind of out there with their flaws, with their idiosyncrasies, with their vices, perhaps more so, it's more like, okay, that's probably the worst of it. You've probably seen about as bad as they get. Like that seems to me maybe the kind of pattern that would unfold.
They're the ones that are talking about how they come from a conversion rate optimization background. Yeah, very, very important. By the way, if you're coming to the UK and Ireland tour later this year, I'm going to be bringing some of you up on stage to answer your questions. So if you've got a question or a story that you think would be worth me talking about, you can go to...
All right. You guys can go check out the rest of that if you like. The Hidden Danger of Accepting Social Norms by by Chris Williamson with George Mack. All right. Moving on. We're going to look at Charlie Chaplin. All right. Okay. Sir Charles Spencer Chaplin. So I'm assuming he's English, knighted, or something. Born Charles Spencer Chaplin. Yeah, born in London, England. Huzzah. I'm assuming he was knighted for acting. I don't think he'd be the first. Right? I think Sir Ian McKellen is a knight, right? There are a couple others that I was thinking of. Dame. Okay. Who am I thinking of? There's a lady. Really nice voice, if I remember correctly. I don't know how it was when she was younger, but right now it's really... Oh, goodness. No, I'll remember it eventually here. Probably. Dame Judi Dench. That's who I was thinking of. I'm assuming that's kind of the equivalent of a knighthood. A little bit. I'm not sure if that's what it is. So don't quote me on that. But all right. Born Sir Charles Spencer Chaplin Jr. Born the 16th of April, 1889. Dang it. Died the 25th of December, i.e. Christmas, 1977. Was an English comic actor, filmmaker, singer, film editor, and composer who rose... Dang, that's a lot of hats. Who rose to fame in the era of silent film. He became a worldwide icon through his screen persona, the Tramp, and is considered one of the film's industry's most important figures. His career spanned more than 75 years. Wow! From his childhood in the Victorian era till a year before his death in 1977. Chaplin's childhood in London was one of poverty and hardship. His father was absent. His mother struggled financially. He was sent to a workhouse twice before the age of 9. When he was 14, his mother was committed to a mental asylum. Chaplin began performing at an early age, touring music halls and later working as a stage actor and comedian. At 19, he was signed to the Fred Carnot Company, which took him to the United States. In 1914, Chaplin gained widespread popularity through his appearances in Keystone Studios films. He soon introduced and adopted the Tramp as his screen persona. He directed his own films and continued to hone his craft as he moved to Esane Studios, where the tramp persona was developed emotionally in The Tramp. Okay. Where the tramp persona was developed emotionally in The Tramp, 1915. He then attracted a large fan base and demanded more money as he moved to Mutal. Okay, what is... sorry, I was thinking of some Mutual Corporation. That's the early American film conglomerate that produced some of Charlie Chaplin's greatest comedies. Alright. I was thinking of something in, like, India or something. And First National Corporations. By 1918, he was one of the world's best paid and well-known figures. In 1919, Chaplin co-founded the distribution company United Artists, which gave him complete control over his films. His first feature-length film was The Kid, 1921, followed by A Woman of Paris, The Gold Rush, The Circus. He initially refused to move to sound films in the 1930s, instead producing City Lights and Modern Times without dialogue. His first sound film was The Great Dictator. I remember there's actually a kind of a monologue from that, which is really worthwhile listen if you ever get a chance. In which he satires Adolf Hitler. Yeah. In the 1940s were marked with controversy for Chaplin, and his popularity declined rapidly. He was accused of communist sympathies, and some members of the press and public were scandalized by his involvement in paternity suit and marriages to much younger women. Well, apparently that's the whole thing with actors. It feels like. I'm just thinking of, who's that dude from Inception? Leonardo DiCaprio. That guy seems to be always in relationships with very much younger women. I guess I don't know what he's up to these days. And some other much younger women. The Federal Bureau of Investigation opened an investigation, and Chaplin was forced to leave the U.S. in 1952 and settle in Switzerland. By the way, just to clarify, this might be more serious than it seems. Well, I say more serious. I don't know. Maybe it's a degree of presentism, but I'm going to guess at this point it meant perhaps underage women, at least by today's standards. Just saying. Alright, later films include... He abandoned The Tramp in his later films, which includes Monsieur Verdot, Limelight, King of New York, The Chaplin Revue, The Countess from Hong Kong. Chaplin wrote, directed, produced, and edited, composed the music for most of his films. Holy crap. Wrote, directed, produced, edited, and composed them. Alright. He was a perfectionist. His financial independence enabled him to spend years on development and production of a picture. His films are characterized by slapstick combined with pathos. Greek term referring to the appeal to emotions and the ideals of the audience. Interesting. To elicit feelings that already reside in them. Typified in the Tramp's struggles against adversity, many contain social and political themes as well as autobiographical elements. He received an honorary Academy Award for the incalculable effect he has had on the making of motion pictures, the art form of his century. In making motion pictures, the art form of his century. Okay, sorry, I was glitching out there. In 1972, as a part of a renewed appreciation for his work, sorry, I was looking at the century. Okay. He received an honorary Academy Award for the incalculable effect he has had in making motion pictures, the art form of this century, in 1972 as a part of a renewed appreciation for his work. He continues to be held in high regard, with The Gold Rush, The Circus, City Lights, Modern Times, The Great Dictator often ranked on the list of greatest films. Pretty cool. Do we want to go through all of this? Stage comedy, vaudeville. entering films. Caught in the Rain. Directional debut. Alright. Caught in the Rain issues on 4th of May was Charlie Chaplin's directional debut and was highly successful. Thereafter, he directed almost every short film in which he appeared for Keystone at a rate of approximately one per week, a period which he later remembered as the most exciting time of his career. Chaplin's films are introduced in a slower form of comedy rather than the typical Keystone farce, and he developed a large fan base. In November of 1914, he had a supporting role in the first feature-length comedy, The Tilly's Punctured Romance, directed by Sennett and starring Marie Dressler, which was a commercial success, increased his popularity. When Chaplin's contract came up for renewal at the end of the year, he asked for $1,000 a week. It's like $52,000 a year, just to put that in perspective. An amount Sennett refused, though as he thought it was too large. I'm assuming Sennett's the head of the studio or something. Yeah. Okay. It's kind of interesting. Charlton was attacked in the British media for not fighting in the First World War. I think there were a lot of people who fought, or there were a lot of actors who went into that type of thing. I think Jimmy, whatever his face, was actually a brigadier general. You'd maybe have to, I don't know. He defended himself, claiming that he would fight for Britain if called, and had registered for the American draft, but he was not summoned by either country. Despite this criticism, Chaplin was a favorite with the troops, and his popularity continued to grow worldwide. Harper's Weekly reported that the name of Charles Chaplin was a part of the common language of almost every country, and that the tramp image was universally familiar. In 1917, professional Chaplin imitators were so widespread that he took legal action, with magazine writers complaining that 9 out of 10 men who attended costume parties did so dressed as the tramp. The same year, the study about included that Chaplin was an American obsession. The actress Minnie Maddern Fisk wrote, "A constantly increasing body of cultured, artistic people are beginning to regard the young English buffoon Charles Chaplin as an extraordinary artist as well as a comic genius." Interesting. All right, let's get into a little bit of the Strange Brigade. Again, I think I'm going to do the camera. All right.
Safely back in the skies above Egypt, the Strange Brigade ponder their next move.
Where are we off to now?
So,
Too much to hope
like,
it's back to Blighty.
Back to Blighty, the cheek of it.
I really
I'm
like the
afraid
rituals.
not, Gracie. The
That was-
existence of the soul cage object you found
Not the
in
blimps.
Sateki is
Maybe
already more
mixing it up.
powerful
I
than
think
we
it's
could have
Zeppelin's the
feared
ones I'm thinking
possible.
of.
But someone stopped it
I
before.
like that
Yes.
style, kind of.
The goddess Wadjet, protector of life. According to the texts we've translated, her priests were the sworn enemies of Sateki and led the rebellion against her.
Oh, they sound fun.
Then we have allies in our fight.
Well, the cult of Wadjet died out long ago.
Damn it.
But it is possible they left behind them artifacts they'd use to overthrow the Witch Queen.
That looks like the
how
Ark of the
jolly
Covenant.
useful.
We're en route to what was once the center of worship of Wadjet. Search the site and recover anything useful against Sateki and her soul cage devices.
Long forgotten evil threatens the world. But a nice spot of tomb plundering should give the Strange Brigade the means to put a stop to it. Onwards to the tunnels of Wadjet.
Yeah.
A visit to long-forgotten tunnels? Searching for clues on defeating ancient reawakened evil. Sounds like another thrilling tale of the Strange Brigade.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
a
hold on.
bleeding creepy sight.
So this is the second one, right? What? But this is for that door that I had actually gone through a little bit of this before. I was thinking I was testing out something on my PC. So that's part of it, right? You have the middle part. Where exactly?
Sealed off by spears, eh? There must be a way through this.
Ooh, hello. Alright. Let's go spelunking.
Down we go. No fear of danger for these brave challengers of the strange and uncanny. Such agility!
Reloading weapon.
Can our heroes pit their wits against this pernicious puzzle?
So, like, so. So I'm thinking. No, that's not gonna work. Okay, that's not gonna work. Alright, how? Okay, so for it to get in, it's like that. Meaning no, that's not gonna work either. Come on. Hold on. Hold on. Just go like so. Try that. Nope. Dang it. Oh, hold on, hold on, hold on. Good. Very good. I see it now.
We're
Yeah. Tracking. Should you? Ooh, shield of
I say, how much do you think this goes for down the jumble? Oh, yet more tunnels open up. What tantalizing treasure is tucked away in this labyrinthine layout?
Okay, so is this the way forward? Yeah, I'm thinking. I kind of want to figure out some of that stuff back there. All right. Yeah. All right. All right. All right.
ammo.
Ammo for the whammo. Alright,
Ah, well spotted, Brigade.
something. I'm assuming that's supposed to be in all of them, right? Oh, okay, that's one. Okay, so this, I'm assuming this is the way you're supposed to be doing it, right?
Blast. Looks like you'll need a key here, Brigade.
Oh, okay, maybe that's the way to, like, I have to get up behind this part. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe that's the way this thing is headed. That makes sense. At least I'm thinking volumetrically wise, that's the way this thing is going. Oh, there's the rest of it. Sweet glory, how did I miss that?
Aha, the key to success. Well found.
Alright, what do we have? Cow, cow, rattlesnake, cow, legless, torsoless, rattlesnake.
It'll take more than this to stop the strange brigade. We hope.
Cracked it.
Hoorah.
The spoils of victory.
What did I spend my money on? I can't remember buying anything.
Jolly good. A nice bit of reading. That's always
We
fun.
remember the witch's father, tyrant and usurper who stole his Pharaoh's crown from a greater and worthier man. It was whispered that this new Pharaoh worshipped. It was whispered that this new Pharaoh worshipped forbidden gods and had an unholy pact with the dark powers of the afterlife. That the soul of his next born would be theirs if they helped make him Pharaoh. His next born was his daughter, Seteki. And it was said he first held her in his hands, red with the blood of the followers of the old Pharaoh that he had just put to death. This was the Witch King brought into this world. Witch Queen, sorry. Witch Queen.
Dynamite out! Fire in the hole! Reloading. Picking up some ammo.
Good Lord! An oncoming cavalcade of cadaverous cads!
Dynamite. Hold on. There we go. Let's see, maybe we'll get to some sort of save point up
An armored assassin. Watch out, Strange Brigade. This hot-headed agent of evil is out for blood.
I'll be having that.
Oh, shit.
Show. It'll take more than acrobatic assassins to stop our heroes. Get that medicine down, you brigade.
Patch me up, Juice.
Blast, blocked in by bothersome wood. Can our heroes burn a path ahead here?
If I remember correctly, those little bug things start to be a problem at some point. And that is one of the ways you can solve it.
I say, what a spectacular sight! Fully charged and good to go.
Oh, this is the way it came down, right? Yeah. How did I not activate that guy? Alright. Wait a second. Oh.
Begone, infernal cat. Bother the brigade no more.
Okay, so is this some sort of...
This calls for brain power, not just firepower, Strange Brigade.
I don't know what this is. Am I supposed to be looking for some sort of combination, or... So only get 3 tries. So there is probably a combination somewhere, I assume? You can't just...
The goddess Wadjet and her priests found a way to defeat Sateki before. So let's hope they left some clues.
Wadjet and her priest can keep this place. I ain't hanging around here.
Yeah, I think that is... Oh, was I buying a whole bunch of guns? Was that... I don't think so. I still have like 10,000 at the last class. Yeah. Look at this thing.
The crossbow, cracking stuff.
Alright. I think that's all for today, though. I think it's, sorry, it's a little bit of a shorter one, but... Yeah, maybe I'll do a little bit more. I want to try to figure out that thing. Is there some sort of combination somewhere? Yeah, because I can't. You can't just do all the combinations. This is. Oh shit. Am I missing something? Alright. Oh shit. Oh, that's what it was. Okay. That's what the creepy crawly sound was. Peter, Tom.
Riveting reading. Oh, huzzah, what a treat.
Frank Fairbairn ducked for cover. Shots from rifles and enraged tribesmen ricocheting off the rocks around him. He cursed volubly. Three shots he put into that old devil. 2 in his heart and 1 through his skull, and it still didn't kill him. Suddenly that damned technological nonsense that his superiors had insisted he take with him on this mission crackled to life and started talking to him. Sergeant Fairbairn, my name is Lady Imelda Webster. Listen to me very carefully and I'll help you get out of this alive.
Fairbairn, reloading.
All for us, eh? Celebratory drinks back at the officers' mess.
Oh, well, wait, there's one. Okay, that's the upward triangle, right? I know. Old crone. Wait a minute. Okay, how am I supposed to be telling what's what here? That one's pointing upward. This one's pointing upward. Okay, let's just try those two, at least for now. Typically I still have... So that one's where it needs to be, right? That's where it needs to be. What's the last one? Am I missing it? Hmm. Bird thing. Over here, is it? Yeah. And there. I need to get a refill on ammo at some point here. So both of those are where they're supposed to be, right? And this is the only one. I don't know if I'm going to get this, but, you know, alright.
locked.
Dagnabbit. Dagnabbit.
Picking up some ammo.
Alright, you know, I think that'll do it for today. Unfortunately, I failed to get that. In any case,
Taking a break. Capital idea.
thank you guys for watching, and you have a lovely weekend.